people like this, can we imagine a person sexually abusing an animal or sexually abusing another man, transgender, or a non-binary person and roaming scot-free, living in the same society as us? Are we not at danger?
Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. If you are an Indian and you care about animals, then you can't skip this video, as animals in India are not safe. They are unprotected against sexual exploitation from humans. And yes, you heard me right. So to get into the details of today's subject, I have with me Meet Ashar, who is an animal rights lawyer. Now, generally, I would have wanted to talk to Meet a lot about animal rights laws in India, but today we are going to keep the focus on this specific issue only. So, Meet, welcome to the channel. And can you briefly describe us like what is the problem statement and what is it that we are facing right now?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. So basically, the issue here at hand is that animals were, from the year 1860 up until now, protected against sexual abuse under Section 377 of the Indian Penal Code. The IPC is a criminal law which has been replaced by a law called the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, or BNS, in the year 2023. And under BNS, there is no provision for sexual abuse of animals, unlike it was under the IPC. So because of lack of a provision punishing sexual abuse of animals, essentially the sexual abuse of animals has been decriminalized. And this will lead to more and more animals being subjected to this kind of pervert and depraved abuse by certain people who find, sexually abusing animals gratifying for themselves. So earlier there were provisions to safeguard animals against it, and now we don't have that provision. Essentially, Section 377 of the IPC. There is no form in which it has been retained under the BNS, under the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, and this is deeply concerning because this would essentially mean that if a person is caught sexually abusing animals, there is essentially not much that we will be able to do against this individual, and they may go scot free. So this
All
is the
right.
issue at hand.
Okay. And the conversion of IPC to BNS, that is something happening at a nationwide level for all the existing legal framework that we have, right?
That is correct. So three bills have been replaced. We are concerned with three laws have been replaced essentially. We are concerned with the IPC. The new IPC is now called the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. So in the old IPC, there was a provision against sexual abuse. In the new IPC, there is not. This is basically the problem.
And why do you think this problem has appeared? Like it is common sense from where I see that to have such a provision to safeguard the rights of animals against such predators. So why do you think this has been removed?
Totally. So there is no clarity from the authorities as to why this provision has been removed. From whatever little we have gathered from bureaucrats or officials at the Home Ministry, is that it was an oversight. But once it being, ignored, or, not being the Home Ministry not being aware of it, can be considered to be an oversight. But it is very surprising, especially when the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Home Affairs, this is a committee of the Parliament of the Home Ministry itself, which has recommended to the Home Ministry that Section 377 needs to be retained in a gender neutral format, penalizing sexual abuse of not just animals, but men and transgender and non binary persons also. But this very, very crucial suggestion of the Parliamentary Standing Committee has been ignored by the Home Ministry. So, in the initial draft, when the BNS was tabled in Parliament, or was rather introduced in Parliament by the Home Minister in August, September, somewhere during the monsoon session of Parliament, that time also this provision was missing. And when we approached the authorities, we were told that it is an oversight. And we did believe it was an oversight. And then we gave recommendations to the Parliamentary Standing Committee. We met with the chairman of the Parliamentary Standing Committee, Mr. Brijlal, a retired IPS officer who has served as the Director General of Police of UP. So you can understand that this man is an expert in law and order. And when he and his committee is recommending to the government, this is the government's own committee, that you need to penalize sexual abuse of animals, etc., they have ignored this suggestion for a second time. So then how can it be oversight? So whatever is the reason, we are not sure of the reason, but my point here is, rather than attributing motives, what my focus would be is to explain and to try and make this message reach the government that when cases of sexual abuse against animals are only increasing, how can you, in the sense, remove a provision? It was rather the need was to strengthen this provision. Cows, dogs, female horses, goat, sheep, chicken, all these sort of animals have been sexually abused by people. There are videos of men or a man entering, a tabela or a dairy farm and, forcing himself on a cow, on a buffalo, on a horse. So these are alarming instances, and these people have the tendency to go on and abuse humans. So that needs to be
Of course.
recognized.
Of course. In fact, I remember a case from last year. It happened in Maharashtra where a person was caught on camera sexually abusing a dog. And I remember that person was penalized and Section 377 was invoked that time as well. So now you fear that such cases, as an animal rights lawyer, you don't have that arsenal with you to invoke 377.
Sadly, we don't. That's correct. And we don't even have another version of 377. For example, the numbering of sections have changed, which is fine. But if there was an alternate provision which existed, that would have been fine. But that's not the case. That's the issue.
Assume that this doesn't go through, right? The law stays as is, as per the current provision under BNS. In that case, how will you act in that case if you come across such a case?
So basically, let me put it this way. The punishment under Section 377 IPC was, firstly, it was a non-bailable offense. Secondly, it was punishable by even life imprisonment or imprisonment up to 10 years along with fine. So it's a very, very serious punishment. The person, the perpetrator or the accused would get arrested immediately. Now, when this provision is not there, there is no section which now says that sexual abuse of animals is a non-bailable offense. So an arrest will not happen immediately. We may be able to get a complaint registered with the police, but the
Oh.
provisions will not be strong. The kind of punishment that will be meted out to this person will not be as strong. So where is the deterrent? How will you curtail
Hmm.
this person from going and sexually abusing more animals and even targeting human victims? Because it's going to start with children, with elderly, with women, who are
Most
comparatively
vulnerable.
physically, yeah, most vulnerable.
Okay, so essentially it's kind of a glaring loophole that has been created, and if someone wants to take advantage of it, then
Right.
they can do that.
This similar loophole exists sadly for men, transgender, and non binary persons also. If a man is raped by a man, if a transgender is raped by a man, if a non binary person is raped by a man, they have no remedy under law whatsoever. This section has been totally done away with.
All right, in that case, why don't we see a bigger uproar for this by the LGBTQIA community?
There are articles that are there on several news websites, but I'm not very conversant or sure as to why this has not caused massive uproar in the LGBTQIA plus community. It should be a cause of concern, not just for them, but for, I think, the society as a whole. Because people like this, can we imagine a person sexually abusing an animal or sexually abusing another man, transgender, or a non-binary person and roaming scot-free, living in the same society as us? Are we not at danger? Would we not feel threatened, vulnerable? So I think it's for the society to kind of recognize there's the major lapse that has been committed. And I'm not again attributing motives, but it is something which is too big to be just overlooked, I would say.
Yeah, and that's actually true. So one thing I believe it's we don't see so much protest against this is because I believe the common person has not really understood the gravity
True.
of the situation. I think that is one reason. And secondly, you rightly said, like I started this discussion by saying that if you care about animals, then you should not skip this video, and there's also a call to action. But also, let's assume that you have no affinity towards animals. Even in that case, would you want to live in a society where there is no legal repercussion for sexual exploitation of the vulnerable? So that is something to consider, and hence we all should act on it. Now, before we discuss what we can do at this stage, Meet, I think already you and your team have approached this issue and you have voiced your opinion. And I believe there were some folks even at the parliament who talked about it, right?
True. True. So we took several steps. As soon as we got to know that the second draft or the final draft of the BNS, which the Honorable Home Minister intended to table and get passed in Parliament, was put up on the Lok Sabha website, we saw this glaring lapse again that no sexual abuse of animals has been made as an offense. And then we wrote to him, we wrote to the Honorable Prime Minister about this. And then after that, when the bill was actually brought up for discussion, just a day before that, we wrote to all members of parliaments of Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha. We reached out to them. Thankfully, because of that, three member of parliaments, namely Srimati Poonam Mahajan, Srimati Hema Malini, and Srimati Sulata Dev. These MPs have spoken up about this issue in parliament, and we are hoping that the Home Minister would pay heed to at least what fellow member of parliamentarians have to say about this. Though in his response to the, when he was speaking in parliament, when the Home Minister was speaking just before the voting was happening on the bill, he did not address these concerns raised by these three honorable member of parliaments. He did address concerns raised by other MPs such as Asaduddin Owaisi or, Harsimrat Kaur Badal, but he did not address, perhaps because it's concerning animals, or I'm not sure why. But these concerns raised by MPs regarding sexual abuse of animals, the provision being missing in this regard, was not addressed by the Honorable Home Minister on the floor of the House. So we are not sure as to what is the government's stand on the issue, but we are going to keep trying. We have written to the Honorable President also to withhold assent and to not give assent to these bills, to not sign off on these bills, because the Honorable President's sign off is required to make any bill into a law. So we had urged the Honorable President also to consider sending the bill back and asking the government to add a provision with regard to sexual abuse of animals, and only then cleared the bill. We did try to get a meeting with her as well, but it was not possible. Of course, she's a extremely busy person. So yeah, we did try to do whatever we could from our side, and now we do need the public to stand up for it, because this is not an issue which only affects animal rights organizations, but like I mentioned, the public at large. So we do need the public to sign the petition on PETA India's website. Alternatively, you can yourself write your own email to the Honorable Home Minister. You can also go on the Honorable Prime Minister's website on the PM portal, as it is also referred to, and write to the PM, explain your concern about this. Please keep it polite. Please do not bash, because bashing will really not help achieve anything. Please convey your concerns in a nice, in a disciplined manner to the government as to why do you think this missing provision is problematic, and urge them to do the right thing, to do right by the animals and by our society, by bringing an amendment. So it's not yet over. It's not that now that the bill has been passed and president has signed off on the bill, nothing can be done. The Home Minister can always bring an amendment in Parliament to add sexual abuse of animals under BNS as an offense. So we urge him to do so, and I would request all of you watching this video also to do the same.
So yeah, uh, we will of course share the link as well. The task, there are two things which can be done. One is writing to the president, and other is writing on the
Writing to
PM
the PM
platform.
and to the Honorable Home Minister, to the PM and to the Home Minister, both of these people.
Okay. Yeah. And the email template is already made by PETA India. You can find it on their website. Again, I will share the link. But let's say if you want to write your own message, like Meet said, you can do that as well. But trust me, I've done this. If you just go to PETA India's link and copy the mail and send it, it takes less than 10 seconds, not more than that. So yeah, that is how much time and effort it will take from your end as an individual, but we need to do it in a large scale. So this needs to be done by so many people for people in power to actually listen to us and pay heed to this important message, right?
True, absolutely. Lakhs of people. We need lakhs of all of
Yeah.
us to do this.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a simple thing, and it's time for us like to participate
True.
in democracy. And we did something of similar kind with the live export bill few months back
Absolutely.
this year, right? And that happened because so many of you came forward, wrote, and eventually it was decided in our favor, right? So we need the same. Essentially, this needs to be amended, right? Otherwise, we will live in a very dangerous society.
True.
Thanks,
True.
Meet, for that. This was really an eye-opener session for me, and I'm hoping for the viewers as well. And like I said, this issue is not getting as much media and public attention as it
I
deserves,
agree.
because there are layers of complexity to this, and probably it's not
True.
easily comprehensible. So thank you so much for breaking this down for us in a manner in which we can consume this.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you so much. Yeah.